And there's another important journey in India's lunar exploration mission, that is Chandrayaan 3, with ISRO having successfully separated the Vikram lander from, in fact, the propulsion module. Now, this spacecraft is now moving towards the final destination with hopes and prayers of billions. This endeavor places India on track to become the fourth nation globally to have ever achieved this remarkable milestone, joining the company of United States, Russia and China. Here's a look at a quick news report on today's developments.
It's T-minus 6 days for India's monumental mission to reach the surface of the moon. And even as we wait with bated breath for the moon craft to reach its ultimate destination, ISRO scripted another major achievement in its lunar quest, as its Vikram lander module of the spacecraft successfully separated from the propulsion module today. The separation comes after a month-long journey with the propulsion module from Sriharikota in India to Earth's natural satellite moon. ISRO took to X platform and posted a message on behalf of the lander module saying, "Thanks for the ride, mate." This post symbolizes the lunar module saying goodbye to the propulsion module. The development was another milestone in ISRO's moon mission. But back home, the nation was all smiles. Here are some reactions from Earth.
This is one unique mission which is not being only looked upon or looked up to by India, but by the entire world. Because the record of the Chandrayaan series so far has been that the inputs, the pictures, the inferences provided by our Chandrayaan series are most of the times first of its kind, exclusive.
For the further events to happen, that is for soft landing of the lander on the surface of the moon, so it has to be first separate out from the propulsion module. Then only this further operation can be done. So that way, this particular event, the separation event, is very, very important.
ISRO is going to ensure that it lands safely and correctly, and in fact, if one thing fails, then there is another thing to hold on. If another thing fails, there's another thing. Plan B, plan C.
So, what's next? Tomorrow on the 18th of August, the lunar lander will descend to a slightly lower orbit around the moon, followed by a soft landing on August 23rd. So, now that the lunar module has separated from the propulsion module, what happens to the latter? While the lunar lander inches closer and closer to the moon, the propulsion module will continue to orbit Earth for months or even years, conducting spectroscopic studies of its atmosphere and measuring the polarization of light from Earth's clouds. And since moon serves as a repository of the Earth's past, and a successful lunar mission by India will help enhance life back home while also enabling us to explore the rest of the solar system and beyond. Bureau Report, Times Now.
What really is the entire journey all about? We have with us this entire graphic to explain to you what Chandrayaan's journey is going to be like, and this is going to be at the time of the launch on the LVM-3M4 launch vehicle. This is going to be the launch vehicle, which is at a height of 43.5 meters. Taking it further to give you more details in terms of the liftoff mass, that's going to be 642 T. Let's go on further to tell you that it will be 1749.86 kg of mass, including the rover and the lander, of course. The mission life is 1 lunar day, which is 14 Earth days. That's what is in fact expected. So it's going to be, of course, August 23rd that when after this launch takes off, it will finally eventually land on the moon. Now, this is the process, of course, of takeoff, where after the initial strap-on boosters are removed, it reaches very close to its orbit. Of course, India was very successful in putting this Chandrayaan 3 onto its orbit, and this is, of course, as you can see, very clearly just about the space where it's getting into the final orbit position as far as the Earth's orbit is concerned. Now, this is important because this is a slingshot method where, in fact, it will go around the Earth, orbit the Earth on at least 4 occasions. Each of those times there will be orbit raising maneuvers that will be made, and after completing these 5 orbits would then enter the lunar orbit. That's a slingshot method which is being used, which is why, of course, it is taking time, but certainly this is how India has managed to reach the moon on the last 2 occasions of Chandrayaan 1 and Chandrayaan 2 as well. Once it is in this stage, as you can see, the separation has taken place of the lander and, of course, the vehicle itself. Now is when the final stage of the lander actually entering the moon comes into position. Payload, and that payload is of the rover Pragyaan, a 14 Earth day mission. 1 lunar day is, of course, the time, because as we all know, the moon rotates at a much slower speed than the Earth itself, and this is going to be very significant once Vikram lands on the lunar surface. Again, of course, as we were telling you, this is 1749.86 kgs. That's the landing, and of course, what's very significant is the fact that the legs, etc., have been strengthened 3 to 4 times what it was in the previous version of the lander. The power is, of course, of 738 watts as far as the winter solstice is concerned, because specifically towards the South Pole is where this landing is to take place. There are 3 payloads on board this particular craft. The dimensions are 2000 into 2000 into 1166 millimeter cube. This is, in fact, as far as the specifications of the lander is concerned. In terms of communication, there's ISDN CH2 orbiter. Rover, of course, is present on board as well, this particular craft. Now, the landing site is 69.367621 south and 32.348126 east. That's as far as the landing site of this particular lander is concerned. Now, this is a demonstration of how graphically the rover would potentially come down onto the lunar surface and then, of course, conduct experiments, and this will be very, very historic. Remember that apart from India, only China currently has a rover actually exploring the surface of the moon, and India at the moment is perhaps the only nation which has actually 3 satellites which are actually circulating around the moon. So this is going to be very significant. Some specifications of the rover: it's a 26 kilogram rover that will, in fact, be exploring the lunar surface. It has power of about 50 watts, and of course the journey, while we know that on the lunar surface itself it will be perhaps a slow, long journey, but certainly while 14 days have been given, it could potentially last for much longer depending on the success of the mission itself. 2 payloads on board the rover itself, as we know, on this particular occasion. So let's quickly take this across, in fact, to our guests who are joining us. With us at the moment, we have Dr. Madhavdas Ghosh, who's a scientist at NASA. Also with us is Jidit Nadamuri Ravi, former ISRO scientist, joining us on the broadcast. And also, we're requesting all our viewers to join us. It's a big moment. We're requesting our viewers to join us, wish Chandrayaan 3 in this journey, and as India enters this coveted club of just 4 nations, and all of us are waiting with bated breath for that touchdown to take place. Let me first go across to Dr. Amitabh Ghosh. Dr. Ghosh, very, very significant mission. We all know, of course, Chandrayaan 2 did not meet the kind of success that Indians had hoped for. This time round, are you assured or are you confident that India would be successful, judging by the statements we've been seeing, for instance, coming out from the ISRO chairman and his team?
Well, I've been into this business long enough that, see, ultimately it's the engineering. No matter what you say, it's the engineering. We have had, at NASA, we have had things which succeeded and things which didn't. And there were some very simple mistakes that were made, and we found out later, but it was too late. So of course, I'm sure they have done their due diligence, but, we just have to wait for 6 more days to find out.
All right, 6 more days to find out. But Mr. Ravi, if I can come to you on that question, what is your experience in terms of the safeguards that have been made? Because extensive research has happened. ISRO has not been in any kind of hurry to actually ensure the execution of Chandrayaan 3. And, with the differences in the 2 missions, what are you looking at, or what are the odds that you feel that Chandrayaan 3 has of success this time round?
Yeah, this time around, ISRO has learned from the mistakes of the Chandrayaan 2. And of course, we have the 4 landers, which are the landing legs, which are more stronger. And with the earlier mission, it has a tolerance of around 2 meter per second speed. And this time, the tolerance level of the impact speed is increased to around 3 meters per second extra. And you have a bigger landing area compared to the last mission, which is very, very small, like 500 meter into 500 meter landing target area. But this time it has increased. We are having a kind of area range of the landing, which is in around 2.5 kilometer wide and 4 kilometer long. So there is a fault tolerant design that has been used in this current lander. So the probability of success has increased manyfold. And of course, my colleague said, we are all hopefully waiting for the 6 days with prayers for the lander to succeed.
Okay.
And that's what we are looking for.
Well, we'll be discussing in detail the process of descent, because that's where things didn't really work out as per plan last time around, and how will things really work this time around scientifically. I will come to both of you gentlemen on that, but I quickly want to bring in some of our viewers who are joining us with wishes, with questions even for you. Our first viewer joining us is Subramaniam from Bengaluru. Yes, Mr. Subramaniam, go ahead.
Hi, good evening to both of you. Here's my question. The Russian mission is spanning a total time duration, if I'm not mistaken, of about 12 to 13 days. The Indian mission, Chandrayaan 3, is spanned over 40 days. Where is this difference? Is this the difference coming because of our way of launching, the Indian way of launching the vehicle using the slingshot method, or is the Russian technology drastically different? I mean, we are now talking about Russia chasing us, or who's going to do it first. But it looks like we've had a head start. So I just want to understand the difference between the 40 days and the 12 days.
Well, that's a very, very pertinent question. I will, of course, put this across to our two experts in just a minute, because there are some more callers waiting. But I can just throw in one nugget before I go across to you, gentlemen, that the Russian project costs are about 5 times that of the Indian cost. So one can look at the kind of technologies involved, and I'll expect our scientist panelists to explain that. But let me quickly bring in our other viewers. Nirmal from Delhi. Yes, Nirmal.
Good evening, gentlemen. I would say that when we use words like the Chandrayaan 2 was not successful, I would say that was a learning process. And based on that, Chandrayaan 3 has been, I'm sure, even the Prime Minister has encouraged the scientists to go ahead with the Chandrayaan 3. I have a gut feeling that it is going to be successful. And with this, I'm sure the Aditya L1 and other projects will also be more successful in future. And I really say best of luck. And this whole thing makes us a proud Indian.
Well, absolutely. And in fact, we are proud of ISRO. We are proud of all our scientists who have brought us laurels, and in fact, in the tightest and most difficult of circumstances, have produced stellar results, Mr. Nirmal. There's no question about it. We're all hoping that Chandrayaan 3 is successful as well. But let me quickly bring in Kiran as well from Chennai. Yes, Kiran.
Everyone, I'm very, very optimistic that this time it will be a successful mission again. And I feel this is a time when we should bring out our thalis and spoons and really bang them when the lander lands on the moon to salute ISRO scientists.
All right. Thank you so much. In fact, we have Ravi also joining us from Bengaluru. Yes, Ravi.
Good evening. I am really excited about Chandrayaan 3, and I'm super confident that it will be a success. And I hope we are the 4th nation in the entire world to do this, and probably we'll have many more heights to reach in the space, and then probably one fine day we'll go on a trekking on moon. All the best for that.
All right. Thanks so much, Ravi, for joining us. Parth is also with us from Bengaluru. Yes, Parth.
Yes, sir. So can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Loud and clear. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So first of all, good evening to all the 3 gentlemen. First of all, I would like to congratulate ISRO. In Chandrayaan 2, we were almost there, but I'm sure that Chandrayaan 3 would be a success. And one more thing what I wanted to ask was, I hear that Lunar 2's mission life is 1 year, in the sense of the lander and the rover, than compared to Vikram lander and Pragyaan rover, which is 14 days. So I just wanted to ask to the ISRO scientists here, with respect to ISRO, is it more of a technology demonstration project, or, because The question I meant was in 14 days, obviously we won't be getting a huge amount of data, right, than when compared to 1 year. So the main question here is it more of technology demonstration or also what the amount of data we get?
Okay. So several questions coming in for our viewers. Thank you so much, Parth, and all our other viewers for joining us. Dr. Amitabh Ghosh, would you like to come in first on those questions? You've heard those questions, I'm sure. I don't need to repeat them.
Yes.
Over to you.
Yes. So I'll take two questions. So one is why does it take longer for the Indian mission to go? So one of the reasons is the strength of the launch vehicle has a certain power. And say one of the ways you benchmark it is how much mass can it put to low Earth orbit. So GSLV, that number is probably around 5,000, 7,000 kgs. For the Saturn V, which put Armstrong on the moon, it's probably 150,000 kgs. So the the Russian vehicle is probably more powerful, so it's going more directly. So it's taking 12 days, and then Armstrong took 4 days. So it was a more powerful vehicle. The other question about the lifetime of the mission is very interesting. So what the thing is, the lunar night is 14 days and the lunar day is 14 days. So it is very hard to survive the lunar night. The temperature is probably minus 130 degrees centigrade or something around that time. And so for that duration of time, what is the brain of the rover? It is the computer, onboard computer. If that freezes, you're toast. So you have to use heaters to keep the rover warm. Now, where will you get the energy? Again, you have to use the energy from the battery. It's a very complex and hard process. So the Russians have that under control, or at least they think they do. So the Indian mission probably, they're doing it one step at a time, and which is of course, the right mission, which is what the Chinese did as well. Mm-hmm. The earlier Changi missions did not survive the lunar night. So I'm sure the next mission will try to survive the lunar night and be around for 1 year.
Okay. Before I come across to Mr. Ravi, in fact, there are several other viewers joining us. Let me quickly get in some comments from them as well, and then I'm coming across to you, Mr. Ravi. Let's go across to our next callers who are with us. Vivek is with us from Mumbai. Yes, Vivek.
Hey, hi. It's the best thing that you're carrying. You're actually showcasing the might of this country. But there's only one small correction I would want to, call out very clearly. It is historic in the sense that we are the first to land on the south pole side of the moon.
Absolutely.
So let us not call us the fourth or the fifth or the third. We are the first to land on the south pole side of the moon. And that is an achievement, the biggest achievement that India is showcasing to the world.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us and pointing that out to our viewers as well. Ravi is with us now from Dombivli. Yes, Ravi.
I'd like to congratulate
my colleague has said,
One second. Mr. Jijit Ravi, before I come across to you, one of our callers' name is Mr. Ravi. Let's quickly go across to him and then I'm coming across to you.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Ravi from Dombivli, please go ahead.
Okay. First of all, we congratulate the space scientists of India for the fantastic achievement which they have made. And I'm sure the last phase also would be taken successfully. And I expect, at least we Indians would expect many more such missions. And I wish all the best. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Ravi, would you like to respond to those queries that have come up? And certainly an achievement because India, as one of the great spacefaring nations, landing and taking on the tough challenge due to the conditions that Dr. Amitabh Ghosh also described. And of course, one of our viewers is also pointing out.
Yes. So answering the two very important questions. So one is about the speed of the launch. So the Luna 25 mission. So basically, as Amitabh has pointed out, it is basically about how much amount of fuel you carry, etc. But most thing I want to point out is ISRO is very famous for having low budget mission. So whatever we are doing is a kind of slingshot kind of mission where the orbital designs are really focusing on lesser energy spent. So this is the methodology of having very less energy spent while achieving your objective. So this is also the reason why we have a very cost-effective moon mission, which is very much comparable to some of the Hollywood budgets on science fiction movies. So this is one aspect I want to point out, but none of this is affecting the mission parameters or mission objectives. So the mission is taking place in maybe in a month period of span of time, but it is primed to achieve all the objectives. So we are not having any compromise on the objectives. So that is
absolutely. And Dr. Ghosh, very quickly, we have limited time, so just very quickly, we have seen how in the past that the Chandrayaan 1 and 2 was successful. There may have been certain aspects of the mission that they could not have achieved, but certainly, in terms of actually discovering water on the lunar surface, for instance, is one example. There are other examples of what we can expect from Chandrayaan 3, even from the orbiter itself.
Right. So there were many results, many payload, and they will deliver in their own way. So and as one of the callers said, it's always a learning experience. It is. We forget this, but it's also about the journey. It's not always about the destination. So it's a process. It's a lot of people have worked and toiled. With their brains for so many years.
Absolutely.
It's a voyage of discovery. It has changed lives. There's so many people who define themselves by working on some small instrument, and I'm one of them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Dr. Ghosh, I would love to have a much longer conversation, and perhaps over the next 6 days we'll have many opportunities to interact, because India entering that club of the great spacefaring nations of the world by any stretch of the imagination is something where not just all Indians are looking at, but the world is looking at us. And certainly we hope that the Chandrayaan 3 mission achieves the maximum possible success it can, and wishing it and ISRO all the best for the next 6 days, which are going to be extremely nail-biting, nerve-wracking and crucial in ensuring that India does achieve those missions. Thank you so much, Mr. Ravi and Dr. Ghosh, for joining us this evening, and all the viewers for joining us as well.